Hey all you MVP candidates and baby eaters. I'm Dale Robin Jr. the third, and this is the 35th video for Slow to Pro, a YouTube series where I go from slow to disobeying the track limits because I'm such a bad boy. Today's race is the fourth and final race in the Respect the Spec series hosted by Zealous Racing League. Today we are at Circuit Paul Ricard for a 1 hour run with a single mandatory pit stop with required tire change and optional fuel. We skipped qualifying and we're starting in 11th of 14, but two of the people behind us are aliens, so effectively we're starting 13th. And as you see, as soon as we get the green light, instead of effectively being 13th, we now are 13th. And I wanted to be even more cautious than usual for the start of this race. Circuit Paul Ricard has some really long straights, so if you damage your car even a tiny bit, you end up losing a ton of speed over the long straight due to the extra drag created by, mushing your car out of the shape it's supposed to be in. So don't crash was more important to me than go fast. But to be honest, that's really the only option on the menu at this restaurant, because we don't have all the ingredients to make go fast just yet. We are working on it, and when we do make it, it's gonna be a great flavor you're gonna love the taste. So we've closed our overly cautious gap through turn 5, and turn 6 is one that usually gives me trouble. I usually end up oversteering, but I was watching an alien during qualifying and noticed that they short shifted to give themselves a better run through turn 7, so I tried it. And I ended up getting an exit fast enough to pass these three guys without needing a draft. So hopefully I can remember to do that on the next lap, and the next lap, and the next, but I'll probably forget. We're gonna go ahead and skip to the final turn of the first lap. There's an incident, and the gentleman in the pink and green does a great job letting traffic past. That's called good etiquette. While we wait for me to catch up to some traffic, if you're in North America or you're from Europe but you're a bit of a night owl, check out Zealous Racing League. I'll link to the Discord in the description. They're going to be setting up another season that should be starting in the next couple of weeks. Mid-January is my understanding, but don't quote me. Things could change. And now we're going to jump ahead to a moment where I thought I had a shot. So we're coming up to the end of the Mistral Straight, and pink goes inside of white into the fast turn 10, and then for whatever reason I was hoping that the stress of too wide driving would push them both a bit wide in turn 11 here, but it didn't work out, and I took an inside line, a very slow inside line, and I didn't gain any ground on these guys. But the battle is still raging, still keeping them slow and still allowing me to keep up. Coming up here, pink car on the right gets onto the curb and it jerks the steering to the right, and I was like, oh, this is my moment. But no, he got his car back under control, and as far as I remember, these guys just kind of walked away from me at this point. The faster guy got in front, and then once they were done fighting, their true pace showed up, and so did mine. So I'm just trying to get a draft here on the pink and black car, and I tried to make him think I was gonna try to dive bomb, but he didn't bite. He's too smart for that. And yeah, so this is the part where they just go, and I never see him again. So the driver who won this race had a little incident on lap 1, and during all the struggling to catch these guys in front of me, the winner has closed the gap and is now on my tail. Good thing is he's an alien, so I know he's got his shit under control, but I'm really wishing that he'd just get this pass over with so I can make an attempt to follow his lines, try to learn a thing or two if I can. But what ends up happening, in my rookie opinion, is that whatever tiny bit of damage he sustained in his incident, it's definitely having an impact right here on the straight. If he's in my draft, he gains. But the moment he steps out of the draft, I start to build that tiny gap again. You can see it right there in the HUD. You can see his white block moving away, but then he gets behind me and boom, it starts to suck right back up. And this guy's got me nervous as a dog adopted by Michael Vick, so I go wild into turn 10 and almost lose it. But some quick counter steering saves the day, and that was either luck or skill, but I couldn't tell you which it was. Run a little wide here, and he just sees this as an opportunity to be like, yeah, I'll take that, thank you. He might be damaged, right? So he's not as fast in the straight, but you don't need to be fast in the straight when you're that fast through every goddamn turn. So those guys ran away from me, and it took another 8 laps for me to close the gap with the next person. Let's go ahead and skip to that. And I had been paying attention, and I noticed that I was gaining a lot of time through the first sector, and I think I was losing a bit in the third. So the big plan in my small brain was to try to get in front of this guy on the big straight and then hold on for dear life through the third sector, with the hope that on the next lap I could maybe build a gap on the first sector. So yeah, let's skip to the end of the straight here. I was really scared coming into turn 10 or turn 8, whatever you want to call it, that we'd be side by side, but luckily we had enough speed to get fully clear, and the driver we passed, it seemed like he might have let off a bit early for safety's sake. But now we're in sector 3, where he has been about a tenth or two quicker than me, and you're gonna see why. I'm wild in sector 3. I drive sector 3 like there's a cop behind me, I got a tail light out, and there's drugs in the car. Really feels like I have no idea how to get this car to do anything I want in this part of the circuit. Coming up into this next turn, this is a problem that I had consistently in this next turn. I don't brake on time. I end up running it way wide. Luckily he's far enough behind that he can't shoot that gap, and we're able to close the door, and we're going to cross the line in P8. So that's up a few positions. So far so good. Let's go ahead and skip to the next bit of action at the end of this lap. I told you I have problems at turn 14, and this time we ran way wide, lost the position that we gained. We ended up following this white car around the track for a full lap, just trying to close the gap, and then finally taking another shot down the Mistral straight. So let's go ahead and skip to that. And this time we actually are side by side for the braking zone, and I was ready to keep my line real tight until I saw the white car back off, so then I just put the throttle back down, run it wide, use all the track if I can. So the white car ended up making a couple mistakes in sector 3. We were able to build about a 3.5 second gap, and then we continued to run that right up until we pit. And then after we came out of the pits, ran another lap, someone else was coming out of the pits, and we had a bit of a battle. So let's go ahead and skip to that. Now in theory, we have the advantage, seeing as our tires are already up to temperature and he just came out of the pits. But you'll have to remember that I am the one behind the wheel, so we're probably still outmatched. But we get a decent enough run to take it side by side, and then coming up into this next turn, I don't quite get all the braking that I need to, and I end up running a bit wide on the exit, and hats off to the red driver there. Could have easily ruined both of our races due to my mistake if he was trying to be aggressive. And the reason I made that mistake is I was really trying to push to try to build even a tiny gap before the straight, because I thought he was well within range to make a solid pass off of his draft. And as we enter the straight, yeah, he's well within range to, at the very least, he's going to end up side by side with me as we go into the next turn. So let's skip the straight and get right to the action. Here we go, side by side through the fastest turn on the circuit. I know I need to stay wide and use all the track to avoid a wreck, and he knows he needs to keep it tight to avoid a wreck. And here's the part where he's just better than me. He just zips right up the inside. So he took that tight line at the same speed as me on the wide line. I don't think this guy is an alien. I've had a battle with him in the past, but there's no question that he's a better driver than I am, and you can see that by his driving, which is better than mine. Our next bit of action comes about 2 laps later, as I was clawing and fighting to try to keep the white car behind me. I ended up cutting a turn too tight for the 4th time, and earned myself a drive-through penalty. So we ended up losing a position to the white car that's behind us due to that penalty. But someone ahead crashes out. We end up back in P9 when we cross the line. Not a great result, not a bad result either. I'll take it. Thanks for watching this edition of Slow to Pro. I'm Dale Robin Jr. the third. You guys have the kind of day you want to have.